Hello, Commander. We have detected enemy forces at the coordinates of Lima, India, Kilo, Echo. Codename Like Button. I do not know what is that. Maybe it's just some whiners or some Twitter accounts. Destroy it with whatever you got, Commander. Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 332 to 334 for the 21st to 23rd of January for the Ukraine war or the special military operation in Ukraine. And I want you guys to thank all these people on the right column, the DPA army. They are the officers, the specialists, the NCOs, and also the generals that have been contributing to the continuation of this war against the SBU unit, the shadow banning unit of the YouTube evil conglomerate. Anyway, just start off with Ukraine reports. So change. I know some of you guys don't like the black map. So anyway, this more scenic. Is that even a word? Two Russian Sukhoi 35 and one Ka-52 attack helicopter has been destroyed over Ukraine. Is things getting a bit loud? And this is destroyed by anti-aircraft missile force. So I have no idea where exactly this aircraft has been destroyed. So yeah, that's what happened. Reported by the Ukrainian Air Force. So move on to the southern front. At the southern front, there is no actually active fighting reported along the border between Kherson, Russian Kherson and Ukrainian Kherson. However, there is a significant important news reported at Mykolaiv. So War Gonzo in their posting and Telegram, they reported that at least that means there might be more. At least 2 units of the Leopard 2 tank has been seen at Mykolaiv. So tractors with tanks were presumably sent to the territory of the Mykolaiv armored plant. So they have the analytical department suggesting that the increased activity of the European media on the supply of the German tanks is caused by an attempt to delay the time for amending the armament law, which I can't read this German word, Kriegswaffenkontrollgesetz. I'm quite sure I will pronounce it wrongly, which does not allow third party to transfer or sell German weapons without Germany's permission. However, War Gonzo reported that in reality, the equipment has already been supplied to Ukraine. So currently, the matter depends on the bureaucracy. So the tanks are already delivered based on this rumor or initial intelligence that is already at Mykolaiv. The problem is they cannot deploy or use it publicly until they get permission from Germany. So this is something to take note of. Take this with a pinch of salt because it's War Gonzo. However, I think this is something that we should keep a lookout for. And why Mykolaiv? Because if it's transported by sea, then this is where it will land. And Mykolaiv is a big city, so that is a good place to hide. And they do have a armored factory somewhere around here, which I did not geolocate, so I'm not too sure. And the shipping is making use of the grain supplies. When they export the grains, the agreement with Russia, Turkey, and Ukraine. So it's always possible to just use it because the Russian Navy is unable to just check every single ship, and I don't think they are allowed to check every single ship. So yeah, that's the thing. And moving on to the Zaporizhzhia front or the Zaporizhzhia line, and the Zaporizhzhia line around Kayamsky and Kyiv, the Russians continue their super duper uber Zaporizhzhia offensive. However, after the initial shock, the Ukrainians did manage to stabilize the line somewhat and able to hold the defenses. So the currently the latest intel suggests that Mali Shebaki is now contested because the Ukrainian lines were able to hold, maybe because of the initial attack. The Ukrainians managed to reinforce, and now Mali Shebaki is unclear. Previously we have reported it to be captured. Currently we have moved it back to being contested. It's currently a gray zone. As you can see, the Ukraine map and the Russian map both overlaps each other, so this is a gray zone. The Ukrainians report Mali Shebaki is still under Ukraine, and the Russians report somewhat that they might have already have controlled the territory. So Ryber have rolled back their words, saying that it's not under fully controlled. So we shall see how this goes. As Ryber, you can see that the armed forces of Ukraine regroup and able to hold the line. So this is a tacit admittance that the Ukrainians have counterattacked and perhaps they have recaptured the place. And the same thing goes for Avdiivka and Novodanilivka. There is fighting reported on the 21st at Novodanilivka, where Ukrainian recon forces of 20 people tried to break through the advancing ranks of the Russian army. So reportedly it was destroyed by artillery strike. But yeah, take this kind of very detailed report with a pinch of salt. There is artillery bombardment, shelling reported at Preobrazhenka, and this is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry, and this is on the 22nd, where the Russian Defense Ministry reported that the offensive operations resulted in more advantageous lines and positions. So the Russian Defense Ministry on the 22nd still reported that they are moving forward, but that was 22nd. Ever since then, they did not say anything. So maybe the Ukrainians have counterattacked successfully, and so on the 21st, right immediately after the report of the Zaporizhzhia offensive, Deep State UA immediately denounced it, saying that it's not really as big as it was said by the pro-Russian sources. They said that the enemy, which is the Russians, achieved little success. The maximum advance is 2 kilometers, which is actually pretty big a success because 2 kilometers is actually pretty far. And however, the Ukrainians managed to respond, and Russians are unable to gain any more foothold and retreated to previous positions, which I have no idea where the previous positions are. So it could be a case where the Russians overrun all these positions along the front line, all these villages and towns, but maybe due to logistical issues, Ukrainian artillery, the orders is given for them to retreat. So the Ukrainians probably retook all this position. I think that might be what is happening, and we can actually see this development of Ukrainian artillery doing their work in the situation at Kayamsky. First, we did have rumors coming out from Intel Slava. Not sure where they aggregated this information. They said that they drove the enemy out of the settlement. However, the information is unclear about what is the exact situation, but the Ukrainian forces have withdrawn between Kayamsky and the Stepnokhursk. So between these two locations, the Ukrainians actually withdrew backwards. And then we have further information coming from Vozmidi, which is a pro-Russian source. They reported that what actually happened was that the Russian military managed to force a withdrawal of the 3rd Battalion of the 65th Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Army from Kayamsky. However, the Russian forces did not dare to enter Kayamsky because due to Ukrainian artillery. So this could suggest that the entire front line might actually suffer the same situation where the Russians are unable to hold the lines because of Ukrainian artillery. So because the Russians previously pushed forward, overrun the positions, but they cannot sit at that position, so they have to withdraw due to Ukrainian artillery. So this looks like the situation. And on the 22nd, the Russian Defense Ministry reported shelling at Stepnokhursk. So the kind of things that they destroyed reported include 2 artillery, 2 D-20 howitzers. So this could also kind of reflect that this indeed there is some artillery counter fires due on the Ukrainian side that is actually forcing the Russians to actually stop their offensive. The as far as I am concerned, the Zaporizhzhia offensive is still ongoing. This is a developing situation. So the pro-Ukrainian side are celebrating it too early. I mean about the stop of the offensive, similar to what the pro-Russian side is celebrating about the success of the offensive. Both sides should not celebrate because this war, this battle, this new front is pretty new. And as per we have seen at the Kherson offensive, the Ukrainian Kherson offensive, the offensive actually took a long time to develop. It takes a lot of time to grind down the enemy to a point where a ground push is actually possible. So the Russians actually do a ground push in a surprise attack to manage to capture certain grounds, but they are unable to push further due to Ukrainian defenses. So the Ukrainian defense still have not fall yet. So we shall continue to see how this offensive develop, or the commander over on the Russian side simply just give up and chicken out of this offensive. So it remains to be seen. There is no updates in terms of the Malinivka situation after the Russians captured the high ground. We also did not see any reports about the Russians redrawing from the high ground. So we'll continue to monitor to see if there's any information talking about the situation over the Hoyapole situation. At the Velika Novosibirsk region, there is reinforcement reported yesterday, where there are artillery forces transferred to the Velika Novosibirsk. And the Russians also on the very same day attacked using some recon force and discovered some of the Ukrainian defensive positions. So this Velika Novosibirsk is still pretty hot. And that's all from the Zaporizhzhia front, or the Zaporizhzhia line. Moving on to the Donetsk front. So we are now in the southeast part of Ukraine. And over at the Voleda line, there is only bombardment reported at Przestivka on the 22nd. And there is a Ukrainian Sukhoi 24 shot down over Volodymyrivka. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. And there is also another plane getting shot down over at Antonivka, Sukhoi 25. So Antonivka, probably, this shot down by air defense. It's not very far, so maybe it might have flew a bit high, or it could be that it got shot down and then it crashes over there. And over at the Marinka region, there's heavy fighting over at Marinka, with reports of fighting reported all 3 days, 21, 22, and on the 23rd. All this information is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, whereas War Gonzo reported that the Ukrainian forces actually counter-attacked on the 22nd. So the reports of fighting is on the western part of the city. So currently the fighting is still within this region here, and footages have been coming out around this region of TOS-1, T-90s being used, the latest Russian tanks. So very heavy fighting, and it also shows that the Russians are starting to field all their most advanced weaponry, probably in preparation for more and more modern weaponry being deployed by Ukraine as the situation comes, because as we mentioned, the Leopard tank is most likely in Ukraine already, just that they are waiting for the agreement to be signed to allow its deployment. There is also fighting reported at Boyeda by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Reports on the 21st and the 22nd. On the 21st, War Gonzo reported on the 22nd. No updates in terms of how it went. Most likely, it didn't work out in the Russians' favor. Not flavor, favor. If it's flavor, it's definitely salty. Moving on to the Donetsk city in the northwestern part of Donetsk city, we have fighting reported at Pervomaisky on the 21st and on the 22nd. And the Vodian region seems to be pretty hot, with the Russians being reported fighting across all 3 days, in the past 3 days, with the Deep State UA on the reporting all the first two, and on the 23rd yesterday is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And which reminds me, I forgot to wish you guys a happy Chinese or Lunar New Year. So wish you a healthy and prosperous year ahead. And Jivine, there's fighting reported. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that they assault Sivinoye. So it's probably this place. It could be related to the fighting reported at Vodian because the front line here is not very clear. And so we shall continue to see how this place develop. According to Deep State UA in the latest report, they say that there is fighting north of Spartacus, which is Sparta. So probably which is also south of Avdiivka, but there's not much updates regarding this thing. They might be also be trying to storm this defensive position. You can see there's a heavy fortification of the Ukrainian side, so they might be actually attacking this. So not exactly sure. So moving on to north of Avdiivka. So we are still around, still in Donetsk. North of Avdiivka, fighting is reported at Krasnohorivka, according to Deep State UA, on the 21st, 22nd, and on the 23rd again, is now acknowledged by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. How Deep State UA describe this is as a difficult situation, which means the Russians are conducting a major attack against Krasnohorivka, which might, and together with Vodian, also reporting very heavy fighting. This might suggest that the Russians are now actively pushing for a pincer around Avdiivka. So let's see how this developed. I think the Ukrainians clearly can see this. If people like us can see it, I'm quite sure the Ukrainian Defense Ministry is understanding what is happening, so they are definitely doing something to try to stop this attack. At Novobamutivka, we have fighting reported on the 22nd and the 23rd. Both is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Might be related to the fighting at Krasnohorivka, just south of it. So the situation here remain in flux. And that's all from the New York front as well. Moving on to the Bakhmut front. So we are now very close to the Luhansk border. At the Bakhmut front, we have fighting around the Klishchiivka region. So the Russians have captured the entrenchment, the heavy entrenchment just on top of the hill, northwest of Klishchiivka, and they are now pushing outwards. They are moving towards Ivanivsky, which I mentioned is a very important town for the Ukrainians. They are moving towards Ivanivsky. There's another attack. There's also reports, of the Russians are trying to expand the zone of control around Klishchiivka. Fighting is also reported at Stuposhki. This is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 22nd, which also comes as a surprise to me. I don't think they are fighting here. They are probably fighting towards or probably around this region, which looks like some kind of mining region. So they're probably fighting around this region, which is probably part of Stuposhki. So they're moving towards that. And the Ukrainian Defense Ministry and War Gonzo both, it's just War Gonzo. They continue to report fighting towards Prestechine or Prestechine. They are fighting towards Prestechine or Prestechine. So wow, this is horrible pronunciation. Yeah, slaughtered it. No, and moving towards that. So the expansion of the zone continues. And moving on to the Bakhmut city itself, fighting is reported in the southern part of Bakhmut. Reports on the 21st and 22nd. And on the 23rd, Ryba reported the battle here to become positional, which means the ground offensive, the assault of operation currently is suspended. They are currently just holding their positions at this moment in the south of Bakhmut. And on the eastern part of Bakhmut, on the 23rd, Ryba reported that the fighting is still around the meat processing plant, which means the Ukrainians are sending a lot of forces to hold the lines and hold the Russians back. However, there is also reports of fighting on the eastern part of the rest of the eastern part of Bakhmut. The Deep State UA reported fighting on the eastern part on the 21st, and then Ryba reported on the 22nd. The latest information by Deep State UA on the 23rd suggests that the Russian forces have captured a large part of the private sector west of the Bakhmut forest. So this is the Bakhmut forest, and the west of the Bakhmut forest is actually this residential area, which I believe this is what they are describing, the private sector. I'm not sure how large is large, and I didn't click into their map. Currently, we will continue to wait for information, but I would map it in this way. I don't think it's they captured the entire of it, but this much is actually considered quite large, given the size of the battles happening over at Bakhmut. Over at the north of Bakhmut, on the 21st, Deep State UA and War Gonzo continue to report fighting in the north, with War Gonzo reported the fighting is towards Yakhidne. However, after the 21st, we did not see any report over the past 2 days regarding fighting towards Yakhidne. So maybe the Ukrainians have success over this region, and the Russians have to fall back towards Pihorodne. So that's all from the Bakhmut city. Further up north to the Bakhmut, towards the Soledar region, we have fighting reported at Paraskovievka on the 22nd. And after that, yesterday we did not have any reports about fighting at Paraskovievka. We do have fighting reported at Krasnohora on 3 days, on the 21st, on the 22nd, and the 23rd. The reports coming between the mix of Deep State UA and Raiba, and also similar situation over at Blahodatne as well, with reports fighting on all 3 days. So that's all from this region here. Over at Soledar, there is news coming out on the 21st saying that the Wagner private military contractors will be sending the bodies of the killed Ukrainian soldiers back to the Ukrainian side. 4 to 5 badges of the bodies will be delivered by over 20 cars. In a way, probably they are trying to make a big news about how much Ukrainian soldiers has been killed in this battle of Soledar. And I'm not sure how the Ukrainians actually responding to this information. However, I can report that this information is actually international news. The Singapore's local media, in Chinese news, I'm not sure the English news report, probably they will do the same as well. Because my mom was watching the news, and then actually I heard that the commentator, the newscaster, reporting this news, and they actually caught the Wagner private military contractors name out as well. They say that the Wagner private military contractors will be delivering the dead bodies of the Ukrainian soldiers back to the Ukrainian side. And so in a way, the Wagner group had success in using this delivery of Ukrainian corpses as a publicity and information warfare tool. And definitely from the sound of it, on the Singapore side, I hear this news. It sounds pretty positive. Like it's some kind of a good image for the Russian side. So definitely this information war is definitely heating up. And talking about information war heating up, one of these major channels that is using DPA's mapping, Sanya in Florida, his entire channel of over 1 million over subs has been suspended permanently by YouTube. So the information war is getting definitely very hot. He's neutral. Even though his channel is in Russian, but he's actually a neutral channel. So his channel getting suspended actually raised a lot of eyebrows, and definitely a lot of paranoia among the neutral YouTube channels that are reporting on the Ukraine war, including at DPA. So definitely you're gonna see a lot more non-Ukraine wars content to prevent us getting a strike as well. The suspension came without strikes, so just in case you want to know. And fighting is reported at Sil, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. I don't think it is actually fighting within the town, probably outside, along the road, maybe on the western side. Fighting was reported towards Avdiivka, according to War Gonzo on the 21st, but it might be a repeating of the information coming from the 20th by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. None was reported about the fighting towards Yasukivka since over the past 2 days. At Krasnopolivka, the Russian forces have captured Krasnopolivka, according to pro-Russian sources on the 21st, and this information was unofficial. by the Russian Defense Ministry, where they reported the capture of Krasnopolivka on the 23rd, which is in their yesterday's report. And this is kind of interesting because 2 days earlier, the Russian Defense Ministry reported a capture of this town called Zaporizhzhia or Zaporizhzhia. But the problem with Zaporizhzhia is that I cannot find this location. I cannot find it even on Russian maps. So I have no idea where is this Zaporizhzhia on Donetsk People's Republic. I'm very confused. So I'm not sure. Actually, I have no idea where it's referring to. So if you guys are more familiar with the Ukraine geography, or you have a better understanding of Russian language, to be able to find this Zaporizhzhia or Zaporizhzhia, do let me know exactly where. Maybe give me the coordinates, because it doesn't make sense. I can't really find anything close to this name anywhere. Maybe some location with the name change, and I don't think it's Avdiivka, because it doesn't make sense. The name is just so different. And if it is true, then we will see the pro-Russian sources repeating this everywhere. And I can tell you that despite this announcement by the Russian Defense Ministry, no pro-Russian sources actually celebrated this capture of this unknown town. So, which actually puts into question whether this town even exists or not. For the Krasnopolivka situation, despite the capture, there was fighting reported on the 21st and 22nd. And then on the 23rd, the fighting has moved towards the north of Krasnopolivka, which actually means it's the south of Mykolaiivka. So the Russian forces is now pushing north towards Mykolaiivka. And over at the Siversk front, the Russians continue their heavy push in the south of the Siversk front, with fighting reported at Razulivka on the 21st and on the 22nd. On the 23rd, it was a mixed bag. The Ukrainians was reported to have made a counter-offensive, according to Ryba. And however, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that it was the Russians that was attacking. So, still heavily contested, Razulivka. At Vasily, we have fighting reported on the 21st and on the 22nd. 21st was reported by Deep State UA and then by Ryba, the pro-Ukrainian source, then the pro-Russian source. At Bilohorivka, we have fighting reported at this region here, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, on all 3 days, on the 21st, 22nd, on the 23rd. So there must be some very heavy fighting around this region for the Ukrainians to be reporting this area this intensively. Vimka situation was interesting. On the 22nd, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry name-dropped Vimka as a location attacked by the Russian side. After that, we did not hear anything about it. No pro-Russian source talked about this as well. So, not sure exactly where the fighting was. At Sperne, the situation is only reported on the 22nd by Deep State UA that there is positional fighting. Otherwise, this location is getting quite peaceful. And very controversial, because Sperne actually means controversial or complicated or confusing or complex. At Verkhem Okayamsky, there's fighting reported on the 21st, and then no fighting was reported ever since. Bilohorivka, there is fighting reported on the 21st, according to War Gonzo. And on the 22nd, SITREP maps reported that the Ukrainians actually counterattacked and managed to capture the northern region here of Bilohorivka. And interestingly, at this water plant here, it was where the Russian media actually visited. According to SITREP maps, they mapped this as captured by the Ukrainian forces now. And moving into the Crimea front. And the Crimea region, you can see a lot of icons, so a bit complicated. There is fighting reported on the 21st, where the Russians attacked the Zaporizhzhia forestry, which is this entire patch of forest region. And then the fighting turned positional on the 22nd, according to Deep State UA. The Russian forces, with no choice, they actually do shelling instead. They shelled the forestry on the 22nd and on the 23rd, according to their daily report. And so the situation here within the forestry kind of is a stalemate. Shelling was also reported near Dibrova on 22nd, and shelling is also reported at Toske on 21st. There's fighting reported at near Zaporizhzhia, according to Zaporizhzhia is here, according to the to pro-Russian source Ryba, where the Ukrainian small groups try to attack or try to penetrate through the Russian defense in the vicinity of Zaporizhzhia. So not exactly a major offensive. The shelling reports continues at Zaporizhzhia on the 22nd as well as at Terny on the 21st, with the Russians trying to attack Terny on the 21st and the 22nd. 21st was reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and as usual, War Gonzo repeated the information on the 22nd. It was not reported ever since by any other source about any attacks towards Terny, so I would not take this with much emphasis. At Shovano-Popivka region, there is shelling reported on the 21st in the Proshanka region, and the Proshanka and the Shovano-Popivka region, and there is fighting reported on the 23rd, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, with them repulsing Russian attacks. However, Deep State UA's report for the 23rd was simply positional battles. So there is a difference between the Ukrainian Defense Ministry and the Deep State UA's, which is the pro-Ukrainian source, reports of the situation over here. So that's a bit of a difference. The Proshanka region also bogged down. The Russians were attacking on the 21st. However, fighting turns positional on the 22nd and then on the 23rd. So the Russian attack within this region is dying down. They are unable to push through the Ukrainian defenses. The Ukrainians were attacking at Novovodyan on the 23rd. This is reported by the pro-Russian source Ryba. And that's all for the Crimea front, which is this region here. Over at the Svetove region, there is fighting reported towards Stemerkivka. The Russians reported shelling north of Stemerkivka, and then they also reported shelling at Stemerkivka, near Stemerkivka. On the very same report, they reported Stemerkivka twice. So probably these are very different shellings, one in the north and one in the east. And then there's fighting reported towards Stemerkivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, on the 22nd, on the 23rd. And as usual, War Gonzo reported 1 day after the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So you can probably ignore the War Gonzo report for this one. And no more reports were fighting towards Stemerkivka was reported on the 23rd. However, there was yet another Mi-8 getting shot down over Lozova, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. This come after one was already destroyed on the 20th. So on the 21st, another one was shot down. So the Ukrainians must be trying the same thing over around this region. I'm not sure why the helicopter is flying around here. Both were shot down by air defense facilities. So maybe they were conducting some medevac operations. So which means medical evacuations. Kuzymivka situation is also very complicated. The Russians are heavily shelling Novoselivsk on 22nd and on the 23rd, which is yesterday. The Russians were trying to attack Novoselivsk on the 22nd, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and then the fighting turns positional on the 23rd, according to Deep State UA. However, the pro-Russian source Ryba actually reported that the Ukrainians are actually on the offensive on the 23rd, which is yesterday. So the situation here at Novoselivsk is definitely very complicated. We will continue to see how and monitor how these things develop. Very contested, because Kuzymivka and Novoselivsk is just next to each other. The fighting here must be very, very complicated. Over at Berestove, the Russians continue to bombard this position on the 21st and on the 23rd. And probably this is actually a forward operating base, or a forward position for the Ukrainians to actually reinforce and attack from Novoselivsk. So probably the reason why Berestove is consistently getting bombarded. There is no clear roads moving towards Novoselivsk. So any reinforcement or movement of the troops is probably along the forest line, or maybe they can actually use this this dirt road that is actually not mapped on Google Map towards Novosibirsk. I believe this is why Berestove is consistently getting bombarded the past 2-3 months. Over at the Kupiansk front, so we are now in the Kupiansk city, the Kupiansk region. There's shelling reported at Kotlярivka on the 21st, and that's it. No, this area here is pretty quiet. This is the only shelling report we have seen directly reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. And over at the north of Kupiansk region, Voronezh has been the place of that is attracting a lot of artillery shelling. On the 22nd, on the 23rd, the Russians reported shelling of Voronezh, as well as Kryanikivka or Kryanikivka. Oh my freaking god! Kryanikivka, and on the 22nd, reported of shelling by the Russian Defense Ministry. So that's all from the Kupiansk front, and that's it for the SITREP, the situation report of the Ukraine war from the 21st to 23rd of January for the day 332 to 334 of this this war that is actually getting more and more hot. So do subscribe, do press the like button, do leave nice comments in the comments below, and please beg YouTube not to strike or suspend this channel, and I'll see you in the next update.